today I'll be showing you guys how to file piston rings like a professional. But before we get into that, you might notice that the scenery is different. So I did move, that's why I haven't been posting that much, but I'll give you a quick garage tour. E30. There's really no point of turning on the light because it doesn't really make a difference. Here's the toolbox, so jacks, jack stands. What I think is necessary is a rack of all my hardware, random draw, screwdrivers, all kinds of little fittings and all that, tools. But yeah. So in this video, we'll be dealing with piston rings. We'll be dealing with everything from figuring out what gap you need, from measuring the gaps, filing them, deburring them, and finally installation. I'll also talk about determining what gap you need for your application, and I'll also show you some tips and tricks to save you some time and headaches. Piston ring gap is a space between the ends of the ring when installed in the bore. It allows for expansion as your engine heats up. Too tight, and the ring ends can butt together and destroy a cylinder wall. Too loose, and you'll lose compression, burn oil, and ultimately lose power. So before you start cutting metal, you should know what size ring gap you need. This ring gap depends on your engine type and what exactly you're trying to do. Right here, I got a BMW S52 engine that I plan to put around 15 pounds of boost on. This depends on your manufacturer and what brand you get, but in this demonstration, I'll show you what wires go. So, this is a 2618 piston. So, hopefully this is focused. In my specific application, I have Wiseco pistons, and they give you a general clearance guidelines sheet on your ring gap. This specific engine, as I said, I'm running 15 pounds of boost. So, application, mild boost up to 15 pounds. You have a top ring and a second ring, and it says, for your ring gap, multiply per inch of bore. So the bore for my engine is 3.407, and on here it's saying multiply per inch of bore. So that's the bore I just put in there. And then mild boost, you have the top ring and your second ring. So for mild boost, it says top ring 0.055. So for my first ring, I'm going to multiply my bore by 0.0055. 0.0055. So 0.0055, and I get 0.0187, which I get around to 0.019. So my top ring is going to be 0.019. So let's do my second. Let's get the measurement for my second ring. So I'm going to put my bore 3.407. Mild boost, the second ring. So for mild boost, the second ring says multiply 0.0058 times 0.0058, 0.00197. I can round that to 0.020, and that's my second ring. So we have the two rings. Last we have our oil ring, which is 0.015 to 0.050. I don't know where I got that measurement from. It's probably somewhere in the paperwork. I just unpacked all my stuff and I just started working again, so I'm trying to get familiar with it. But oil ring, you usually don't even have to touch the oil ring. In my case, I didn't. I just left it as is. Now that you already know what end gap you need for your engine, next is to do it. So let's talk about some tools. So the first thing on my list is feeler gauges. In my application, I work in standard, so I have feeler gauges in inches. Next up, you need a ring filer. There's two choices, electric and manual. I got manual. I don't need nothing fancy. I work in the garage, I'm used to it. A scoring tool is necessary to get a precise measurement. In this case, I'm just reusing an old piston with the second compression ring on. Lastly, when it comes to filing, you'll need to deburr. I have some sandpaper. This is 1000 grit. It might be a little too fine. This is all I had. You could also bump down to 800, 600, I'm not sure, but 800 you should be fine, as well as a Sharpie marker, and finally some towels. Okay, so let's start with the top ring for cylinder 1. So when you get pistons, it's going to come with a piston, wrist pin, the retainers, and piston rings. So this right here is this. So all this is just giving you information on the installation and filing of the piston ring. So the rings, you're gonna have 3 different kinds. You're gonna have the top, the second, and the oil ring. So when you open the package, you're gonna see the first one that pops out the most is the oil ring. So the oil ring, and with the oil ring you have 2 upper and lower rails. So they're gonna be the skinny ones. They're gonna be these are the 2 skinniest rings. They're gonna go with this. These you usually don't have to gap. Next, you're gonna have your top compression ring and your second ring. These you can't mix them up. So your top ring, out of these 2, if you look really closely, you might not see it on camera, but there's one that's dull and one that's shiny. So the dull one is gonna be your second ring, and the shiny one is gonna be your top ring. This is a steel gas nitride ring. It's like a really chrome color. So hopefully you could see that this one's more dull. As well as that, there's orientation. You're not going to see it as well, but there's usually a dot or letter N on each ring at the end gap. That is going to face up. So this is a piston. You install it, the dot or the N should be on top facing up. So as I said, these don't have to gap. These 2 rings you're gonna have to gap. So the process is the same when it comes to filing for the top and second ring. The first and second ring is the same to file. So for the demonstration purposes, we can do this top ring. Get some brake cleaner, a lint-free towel, brake cleaner, spray down and clean the bores. Now what you also could use is some gloves. What I have are these medical gloves. I don't recommend these because as you install the ring sometimes, they could tear off. You don't want little pieces of rubber falling in there, and that's not good. So if you have, it's good to wear reusable gloves, but make sure they're good quality. I'm not wasting my brake cleaner for this video, so it's clean. So we're gonna have the N or the dot facing up, and what I do is to prevent, if you got the gloves on, to prevent it being pinched, take the middle. It's right in the middle. Drop it down a little bit. I take my thumb. Let's go a little bit lower. Yeah. So drop the ring in there about in the middle. Take my thumb. Just like that. So now the ring is in there, but it's not even. So this is where your squaring tool comes in use. So like I said, I'm reusing a piston. You could get a squaring tool, but this was more cost effective for me. And as you can see, I have a whole bunch of them. So I took the oil ring off and the first ring, and I left the second ring on. Now, the second ring is going to catch the deck of the block, and that's going to stop it and get it square. So, boom, just like that. Now, this is square. Now you're gonna have your ring gap, your target ring gap. So say mine was 19. I don't think there's a 19 on here, so I could take a 1 and a 18, or 0.018 inches. I could bring them together like this. I usually just do the 18 by itself. So what you're gonna look for is you're gonna put the feeler in there. What the fuck? It's a brand new ring. I thought this was a used ring. Hold on. Now I'm double guessing myself. Okay, yeah, this is good. So, got this in here, square, and you're gonna look for your desired target. Get this more in. So my desired thickness is not fitting in, so we have to file it. So I just grab the back end, bring it perpendicular, and just take it right out. Now when it comes to filing, I use the end I keep up. I butt this up against these two little like studs. So I push forward with my thumb, and then my pointer finger press down, and then this one I push this way. So forward to the side, and then this finger is gonna just press down, and I'm gonna, actually, let me not waste this. This is a good ring. Sacrifice the second one. So end facing up, end of the dot is facing up. And when you file it, you're gonna go towards you. A lot of people go this way. You don't wanna do that. I'm gonna go towards you. I usually do 3 or 4 turns at a time. So 1, 2, 3. Once I finish that, sandpaper. This is 1000 grit. 800 should be fine. I just clean up, deburr the edges. Brake clean, we're gonna simulate it. Wipe it off. Now we grinded the piston ring. So from here, same thing. Get our measurement until we reach the desired ring gap. Try your best to file in one direction. Me, I prefer to file towards myself. Doing this will keep the face square and flat. After each pass, clean the ring, recheck the gap, and repeat until it's perfect. Sometimes you might not get it on the money, but it's always better to have a wider clearance than something that's too small. Take your time when doing this. Once it's filed too far, you can't go back. You're gonna have to buy a new set of rings. When it comes to the deburring process, I like to use sandpaper, but a small file will be perfectly fine. This prevents the cylinder wall from scoring and ensures proper seating. So now that the piston ring is filed and deburred, I work one cylinder at a time. So this was cylinder 6. I like to mark everything down, work neat. Also, for this S52 engine, this piston doesn't have it labeled, but sometimes you get a little dot on your piston, which shows you the orientation of the piston. The dot would face the front of the engine, or the crank or the hub, crank hub. As I said, I work one cylinder at a time. So once all this is done, I take everything, put it back to this exact spot, and work on a different cylinder. Ensure to not mix these up with different cylinders. If this is cylinder 1, everything say all this is for cylinder 1. I'm gonna take the measurements into everything in cylinder 1. Same things, if it's cylinder 2, I'll do everything in cylinder 2. This is something you don't want to mix and match up. Now the piston rings are all filed, clean, and good to go. We're going to install them. I'm going to show you how to install them onto the piston. So I'm going to start off with the expander ring. So this is the weird looking one. Now per Wiseco, these need to be installed a certain way. They can't overlap. The camera is not going to pick it up, so I'll try to draw it out for you. So if you look at the ring straight on, it's going to be like that. So this gap is where the ring separates. You're going to want these two gaps to be just like that in touch. You don't want the gaps to overlap like that. It's not good. So this I do by hand, just like that. And then once again, the camera's not going to pick it up, but I'm going to make sure that these don't overlap. Perfect. Next up, we're going to do the oil rails. You got two of them. One goes on the top of that expander, and then one goes on the bottom. So I usually start with the bottom, go from the bottom of the piston. Depends on your piston. Sometimes it might be too big because your piston isn't truly, true. The top is gonna be skinnier than the bottom. The bottom, this is gonna be wider due to thermal expansion, but I was able to get these oil rails on. And if not, you could always go from the top. If you do that, put these on first, put the bottom rail on, leave it over here, then put the expander and then scoot the oil rail up. But in my case, I got the expander on. I'm just gonna slide it little by little. So I'm gonna work one end. I'm gonna put one end in the groove. Falls right in place. And then I could use my finger to trace the rest of it back on. Rotate it, make sure nothing's binding. Now we'll do the top oil rail. Get some light on. I don't know if you can see it or not. Okay, so it looks like as I was editing this video, a clip where I installed the top ring and second ring got messed up. So I'm back and I'll here demonstrate again. I won't be doing it on the Wisecos because I already put those on. So we'll do it on an old piston. So just where the video ended, the oil control ring and the two oil rails are installed. Now we got the second and top ring. On this car, the second ring is more thick. I don't know, the camera is really not going to pick it up, but one of them is thicker than the other. And on these, it doesn't say a dot or an N. But another way you could help identify orientation is like a little ridge on some of them. So you could go on the forums and look it up online, or the orientation for this. I think Wiseco says something about the ridge too. I don't know where the sheet went. But yeah, if you don't have any identification on orientation, pay attention to there might be a bevel on your piston ring. But let's skip that. And we're gonna assume that you know which orientation to put it because that matters. And we're gonna start with the second ring. So that would be this ring. So this is a piston compressor. What is this? What is this? A piston ring expander. So I'm just gonna place the ring with the open end on here. Shit. Seat these up against the bottom and squeeze it just to put some tension on it. Now we're gonna squeeze and let that ring expand. See? You just want to go enough just to clear the piston. Get it in that ring groove. Even if you can't get it perfect on the ring groove, just get it on there. Like, see, this isn't perfect. It's on the second. It's on the first ring land. So we're gonna bump it down to the second. Okay, this one needs to go as well. But what I like to do is run my finger. And there we go. Same thing for the first ring. There we go. Just get it just enough to clear. As you can see, this isn't perfect either. Looks like we got this one on. Just run our finger. Good. So measured, matched, and installed with care. That's how you properly file and install piston rings. So one thing I didn't. So one final thing before you install these into your cylinder bore or engine is you gotta make sure to clock them. Depends on your, engine, manufacturer, manual, whatever you're following. You have to do something that's called clocking it. So say it's gonna essentially say the top ring, top compression ring, the gap is gonna face 12 o'clock. The second compression ring, the gap is gonna face 3 o'clock, and you just turn those rings just to achieve a I don't know, fucking know, some shit. Well, look, that's all I have for now. Excuse the lighting. This garage is new to me, and I'm trying to adjust and get everything good so I could make some good content for you guys. But this video is pretty straightforward when it comes to filing and doing all that for piston rings. Leave some comments if you got any more questions. And yeah, next up we're going to be dealing with connecting rods. We're going to be measuring the clearances and for the rod journals and marrying the piston to the rod, and we're going to install it so we'll have a full rotating assembly. But that's all I got for now, guys. Peace.